Alright, so this is video number 4 and test number 5, I believe, since the last one had the bandana and the shirt. So let's go ahead and talk about what I'm actually using. Little vials of powder, and it contains Photochromic Pigment. You can use this for paint, for epoxy, any number of things. And it reacts with sunlight. So there's different variations. You've got some that switch from one color to another. So in the case of this, it would switch from yellow to red or blue to violet, and you have your starting colors here. Then there are others that are mostly whitish. That one's more of a light brown color. So this one become blue, this becomes yellow, and this becomes mauve. And you just mix it up. And what I've been mixing it in is an Airbrush Medium. I've only used it for these experiments. This is about 4 ounces, and I've got about 1/3 of a bottle or less left. So I'm not sure I'm going to make this shirt work, but it's the smallest shirt yet. So we'll see what happens. In this case, it's a youth medium size. So for this one, like I said at the end of the last video, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to do about 5 cycles over each side if I have enough medium to do it. And probably 3 colors each round, maybe 2 colors. I don't know. We'll see what happens. And go from there. I don't want to mix up all 5 each time, simply because it's a lot to actually put on one side. And I mean, you do have to flip it, but we'll see how that goes too. So I'm going to apply it, dry it, and open it up, re-scrunch it. I would assume it'll become a different scrunch each time. Tie it up or rubber band it up, and then respray over and over and over. And I guess I'll judge it based on what the coverage looks like when I untie it each time, on how many times I'm going to do this before I say, alright, it's good, and call it quits. Now the ones that start out as white will actually be white on the shirt, so you shouldn't see anything on the shirt. So I'm probably going to check it outside each time to see what kind of actual coverage I'm getting. But that's where we go. I'm not going to show you mixing up the paint because it's literally taking the medium, adding the pigment, stirring, and loading it into the airbrush. So let's get started with the airbrushing. Okay, this is fully dried, and I've re-scrunched this. As you can see, it's different than it used to be. So this time I'm going to go through, well, let's take this in real quick. This time I'm going to use the yellow, mauve, and blue. So these are all whitish, or this, whatever color that is. So I'm going to start with the mauve because it'll actually spray on with something other than white, and then it's kind of a guessing game for the next round. So let's go ahead and spray these on. Alright, I've cheated a little. I've got a UV light running so I can actually see what I'm doing at this point. as you can see, with the black light on, it's still not the colors that you would see in the sun, because it's not technically a UV reactive. But it does give you an idea of what parts have been sprayed and what parts haven't when you're working with the clear. So all of this is done for this pass. I'm going to put this under heat and come back in a couple of hours, open it up and take a look and see where to go from there. By then the sun will actually be down outside, so this is going to become a guessing game where I'm going to have to wait until tomorrow for the next pass. Alright, about to start round 3. That's the next day. I took it outside and it's not covered nearly as much as I had hoped for after 2 rounds of this. So I've actually switched to a different medium, and it's Liquitex Professional Airbrush Medium. I'm going to give this a try, both because I'm almost out of the other and it's worth trying something else to see if I'll get better coverage. It seemed to take the pigment better, but we'll see. Anyway, this time on this round I will be using blue to violet, yellow to red, and blue. So let's go ahead and start spraying. Okay, I have to stop and say this is spraying much better, just in a couple of seconds. So let's see how this goes. Alright, I know you can't tell from the video, especially when I have it sped up as much as I do for these, but that was easily 5 times faster than the Jacquard. And yes, this is a little thicker, but I had adjusted the brush to what I felt was correct. This is a fair bit thinner, but as long as it doesn't do something weird when it dries, like stick together or something, I'm going with this for the rest of the rounds. The coverage looks better. It's kind of sticky, but I definitely like the rate of spray for this much better. Anyway, I'll stick this in to heat it up to about 120 for a couple of hours, and then we'll go to the next round. Alright, so it's been retied again, and we're about to start round 4. This time I'm using the mauve and the yellow. These are the ones that are white-ish to start with. So I'm starting with the mauve so that I can see where I lay it down, and the second color will be the yellow. So I'll warm this one up to 120 for 2 hours again, and then we'll do the next round. Alright, as it's been the last few, this is, I don't know, pass number 5 or 6, I've lost track. And this time I'm using blue to violet, yellow to red, and blue. So let's go ahead and spray this round. Alright, I'm going to heat this one up again to about 120 degrees for a couple of hours, and then I'll come back to it again tomorrow and check it out outside, see what it looks like before going any further. So after that many layers, I'm just going to go ahead and stop, and this was the results. This is what it looks like in full sunlight. There's a fair bit of change, and you can see the two side by side. And the results aren't bad. If you do this, you might want to go for 10 or 12 layers. But overall, I think there's a fair bit of potential in creating something with it. I just wish I could incorporate it with the Procion dye as well, so that it would look completely different inside as it does outside. Thanks for watching. If you have any comments, be sure to leave those. And until next time.